The morning sun hit the cafe floor, but Yoda only wanted the old metal vent.
I have seen many rescues in my time, but I had never seen a fear like this. His wrinkled skin was pressed tight to the iron, as if he were trying to merge.
The moment my fingers grazed his shoulder, a sound broke from his tiny throat.
It was not a hiss, but a mournful scream that echoed through the quiet room.
He refused to move, even for food or the softest beds I could offer him.
His body was shivering, despite the intense heat radiating from the pipes.
Why was this hairless little soul so desperate to stay in this corner?
The mystery began that morning, and it would lead us to a hidden truth. Running this cafe for 5 years has taught me that every cat has a story. Most of our residents find a favorite sunspot or a high velvet perch.
But Yoda acted as if the floor were ice, and the heater his only hope.
Mark had been our trusted plumber since the very first day we opened.
I asked him to check the pressure because the pipes felt far too warm.
He looked at the small, pink Persian cat and shook his head with a quiet sigh.
Yoda tightened his grip on the metal, as if Mark were a common thief.
I felt a knot in my stomach as I watched the fear in those amber eyes.
The system is fine, Chloe, but this little guy is truly terrified.
I decided to sit with him and let the silence bridge the gap between us.
He watched me with those giant ears, rotating like radar in the dark. I offered my hand and spoke in the lowest whisper I could find.
For a second, I thought he might trust me enough to leave the warmth.
But he pulled back and screamed, as if my shadow were a wall of ice.
It was the sound of a creature who had lost more than just a home. He wasn't being difficult or stubborn, and he was genuinely in pain. Without fur to protect him, the cold must have felt like a physical weight. I knew then that my approach had to change if I wanted to help him. I brought out every plush blanket and heated pad we had in the store. To my surprise, he treated the soft fabric like it was a dangerous trap. I tried placing a high-tech thermal bed right next to his metal vent.
He didn't want synthetic warmth, and he wanted the steady hum of the pipe.
While the others played, Yoda remained a frozen statue in the corner.
I attempted to distract him with toys, but he wouldn't even look up.
His rejection was absolute, and his shivering was becoming worse. I started to wonder if he was sick, or if the trauma was just too deep. No matter what I did, he remained anchored to that single spot. His focus was purely on survival, as if the warmth might vanish. Day 1 ended with no progress and a heavy cloud over the cafe.
By day 2, he had not moved an inch from the iron heating vent.
He was barely eating, and his skin felt dry and tight to the touch.
Customers started asking why the little cat was crying so much.
Whenever someone got too close, he would let out that sharp plea.
I felt the tension rising as I realized he wasn't getting better.
On the morning of day 3, I saw a new look in his amber eyes. It was no longer just fear, yet it was a pure, frantic exhaustion. He turned his head away and huddled closer to the burning pipe.
I knew that time was running out to find a way to save his soul.
Mark came back that afternoon and looked at the cat with a grim face.
The boiler is old, Chloe, and these pipes are getting far too hot.
He warned me that if Yoda stayed there, he might suffer a burn. If I didn't move him by tomorrow morning, it would be too late. The safety of the café was at risk, and the customers were upset.
Every time I tried to shift him, he would scream in absolute fear.
I felt like I was failing a little soul who needed me the most. There was a secret locked behind that gaze, and I had to find it. I wouldn't leave him alone until I understood what he was saying. The clock struck midnight as the rest of the city fell into a deep sleep. The only sound in the café was his heavy breath and the heater's hum.
I told him about the time I felt lost and had no place to call my own.
His ears rotated toward my voice for the first time, without a scream.
I explained that he was safe now, and that he didn't have to be afraid.
He gave me a tiny blink, as if he finally understood my words.
The metal was biting hot, and I wondered how he could stand the heat. He shifted his weight, and I saw a small spark of relief in his gaze. We sat together in the glow of the heater until the dawn arrived. That night changed everything and gave me the strength to look deeper. As the sun rose, I spotted the old sweater he arrived in last week.
It was thin and worn with patches that spoke of many long winters.
My thumb caught on something stiff, hidden deep inside the lining. It was a tiny tag sewn with shaky hands into the very bottom.
He watched me, as if he knew exactly what I had just discovered.
The handwriting was cramped and blurred, as if written through tears. Everything I thought I knew about him was about to change forever. He seemed to wait for me to speak the truth out loud into the room.
The piece of cardboard held the secret to his broken little heart. The ink was faded, but The words hit me like a physical blow. It said, "Please keep him warm, because I can no longer afford to." The gas was shut off, and the house has been like a tomb for weeks. He stayed by my side to keep me warm while I had nothing to give.
He wasn't hugging the heater. He was trying to replace a lost bond.
Find someone who can give you the heat that I no longer have.
The poverty was a silent thief that stole a family apart today.
He was waiting for a miracle, and I was the one holding the tag.
I wouldn't let this story end with a radiator in a cafe corner.
I had to find her before the winter became too much to bear. I served his favorite wet food on a plate, warmed by my hands.
The steam rose gently, and the aroma filled the cold morning air.
For the first time, his gaze drifted away from the iron pipes. He took one hesitant step toward the center of the wooden floor.
The simple taste of a warm meal began to thaw his frozen spirit. I knew this was the first victory on his long road to recovery.
He didn't run back to the vent, but stayed sitting near my knees.
I called the utility company to verify the lady's address. They confirmed the gas had been off for almost 3 full weeks.
I paid the bill in full and scheduled a repair for the morning. The decision was easy because these two belonged together. I would not adopt him out, but return him to his true home. We drove through the morning frost to a small brick apartment. I felt my heart racing as I waited for the lady to answer. The look of pure shock on her face was worth more than any bill. The heat was back, and Yoda was finally where he belonged. One week later, the first heavy snow began to coat the city streets.
I went to check on my friends and found the room glowing with heat.
Yoda was no longer screaming, but purring in a steady rhythm.
The bond that was broken by poverty had been stitched back together. No one should ever have to choose between food and staying warm. Please check on your elderly neighbors during these cold winter months. A small act of kindness can prevent a family from falling apart.
Thank you for watching Yoda's journey back to the heart of home.
Subscribe to join our mission of healing and sharing these stories.